In the picturesque coastal town of Ocean View, California, the community was left reeling from a chilling event that would forever change the lives of its residents. What began as a fairy tale romance quickly spiraled into a nightmare that captured national attention and left investigators baffled for months. This is the harrowing case of Evelyn Martinez, a vibrant 28-year-old elementary school teacher whose disappearance during her honeymoon sent shockwaves through the tight-knit community and unveiled a sinister truth about the man she had just married. Evelyn Martinez was known for her warm smile and dedication to her students at Ocean View Elementary. Colleagues described her as passionate about education, always willing to go the extra mile for her young charges. Standing at 5'4" with long dark hair and expressive brown eyes, Evelyn had a presence that lit up any room she entered. Her infectious laugh and kind demeanor made her a favorite among both students and fellow teachers. In the spring of 2022, Evelyn's life took an exciting turn when she met Jack Holloway at a local charity event. Jack, a 32-year-old financial advisor, seemed to embody everything Evelyn had been looking for in a partner. Tall, well-dressed, and charismatic, Jack quickly swept Evelyn off her feet with his charm and apparent devotion. Friends of Evelyn noted how quickly the relationship progressed. Within weeks, Jack and Evelyn were inseparable. Jack showered Evelyn with expensive gifts and romantic gestures, often surprising her with elaborate dates and weekend getaways. For those around them, their whirlwind romance seemed like something out of a fairy tale. Evelyn's best friend and fellow teacher, Sarah Thompson, initially shared in Evelyn's excitement, but couldn't shake a nagging feeling of unease. Sarah later told investigators that Jack's charm seemed almost too perfect, and she noticed subtle changes in Evelyn's behavior. Evelyn, once outgoing and independent, began to defer to Jack's opinions and spent less time with her friends. Despite these concerns, Evelyn was head over heels in love. When Jack proposed after just 4 months of dating, presenting her with a stunning diamond ring, Evelyn joyfully accepted. The couple announced their engagement at a lavish party, where Jack charmed Evelyn's family and friends with his wit and seeming devotion to his fiancée. On a sunny Saturday in September 2022, Evelyn and Jack exchanged vows in a beautiful ceremony at Ocean View's historic lighthouse. The event was the talk of the town, with no expense spared. Evelyn looked radiant in a custom-designed gown, her face beaming with happiness as she walked down the aisle. Jack's vows brought tears to the eyes of many guests, as he promised Evelyn a lifetime of love and adventure. However, Sarah Thompson, standing beside Evelyn as her maid of honor, couldn't shake off a feeling of dread. She later recounted to police that Jack's eyes seemed cold, despite his warm words, a detail that would haunt her in the months to come. The reception was a joyous affair, with dancing and celebration lasting well into the night. Guests remarked on how in love the couple appeared, with Jack rarely leaving Evelyn's side. As the newlyweds bid farewell to their guests, leaving for their honeymoon, no one could have imagined the dark turn of events that was about to unfold. Evelyn and Jack had planned a 2-week honeymoon to the Maldives, a tropical paradise known for its crystal-clear waters and luxurious resorts. They departed the day after their wedding, with Evelyn excitedly sharing updates on social media about their journey. The first few days of their honeymoon seemed idyllic, based on the photos and messages Evelyn sent to her family and friends. Images of the couple enjoying romantic dinners on the beach, snorkeling in coral reefs, and relaxing in their overwater bungalow painted a picture of newlywed bliss. On the 5th day of their trip, Evelyn shared a final post, a selfie of her and Jack watching the sunset. The caption, "Paradise found with my soulmate." This would be the last time anyone heard from Evelyn Martinez. 2 days after Evelyn's last social media post, Jack Holloway contacted the resort staff, reporting that his wife was missing. According to Jack, he had woken up to find Evelyn gone from their bungalow. He claimed that they had enjoyed a few cocktails the night before, and he assumed she had risen early for a swim or walk on the beach. As hours passed with no sign of Evelyn, the resort initiated a search of the island and surrounding waters. Local police were called in, and the idyllic paradise quickly turned into a scene of frantic activity. Divers scoured the lagoon while search parties combed every inch of the small island. Jack appeared distraught, according to resort staff, repeatedly asking for updates and assisting in the search efforts. He contacted Evelyn's family back in Ocean View, breaking the news of her disappearance. The Martinez family was thrown into a state of shock and disbelief. As days passed with no trace of Evelyn, the case began to attract international attention. The image of the beautiful bride vanishing on her honeymoon captured the public's imagination and sympathy. Media outlets descended on the small Maldivian island, and the case made headlines across the United States. With Evelyn still missing after a week, the FBI became involved in the case, working in conjunction with Maldivian authorities. Special Agent Liza Chen was assigned as the lead investigator, known for her meticulous approach and experience in handling complex international cases. Agent Chen's first step was to interview Jack Holloway extensively. In these initial conversations, Jack maintained his case. He and Evelyn had a romantic dinner, enjoyed some drinks, and went to bed. He woke up alone and assumed Evelyn had gone for an early morning activity. It wasn't until several hours later that he became concerned and alerted the staff. However, as Agent Chen delved deeper, inconsistencies in Jack's case began to emerge. Resort staff reported that no one had seen Evelyn leaving the bungalow that morning. Security camera footage showed no sign of her on the beaches or in any public areas of the resort. Furthermore, a thorough search of the couple's bungalow revealed something troubling. All of Evelyn's belongings were still there, including her phone, wallet, and the cover-up she typically wore over her swimsuit. It seemed unlikely that she would have gone for a swim or walk without any of these items. As the investigation progressed, Agent Chen ordered a more thorough background check on Jack Holloway. What she uncovered sent a chill down her spine and changed the entire direction of the investigation. The background check on Jack Holloway revealed a history that he had carefully concealed. Jack's real name was Jonathan Hawkins, and he had a string of failed marriages and suspicious deaths in his past. 5 years earlier, Jonathan had been married to Rebecca Collins in Seattle. Rebecca had died in what was ruled an accidental drowning during a boating trip. Jonathan, who had been with her, claimed she had fallen overboard in rough seas. He had received a substantial insurance payout after her death. For that, Jonathan had been briefly married to Melissa Chen in Las Vegas. Melissa had disappeared during a hiking trip in the Grand Canyon. Her body was never found, and the case remained unsolved. Once again, Jonathan had been the beneficiary of a large insurance policy. In each case, Jonathan had changed his name and moved to a different state shortly after the investigations concluded. His pattern was clear. He targeted wealthy women, married them quickly, and then they met with tragedy during trips or adventures. This revelation sent shockwaves through the investigation team. Agent Chen immediately shifted the focus, now viewing Jack Jonathan as the prime suspect in Evelyn's disappearance. As investigators dug deeper into Jonathan Hawkins' past, a disturbing portrait began to emerge. Interviews with his former colleagues and acquaintances painted a picture of a man who could be charming and persuasive, but who also displayed classic signs of sociopathy. Dr. Eleanor Reeves, a forensic psychologist consulted by the FBI, reviewed the evidence and provided chilling insights into Jonathan's personality. She described him as a likely sociopath, someone capable of mimicking emotions and forming superficial relationships, but ultimately driven by self-interest and lacking genuine empathy. Dr. Reeves explained that sociopaths like Jonathan are often skilled manipulators, able to quickly assess what others want and present themselves accordingly. This explained how he had been able to sweep Evelyn off her feet so quickly, presenting himself as her perfect match. The psychologist also noted that sociopaths often become bored easily and may seek thrills through increasingly risky behavior. In Jonathan's case, this manifested in a pattern of marrying women and then orchestrating their disappearances or deaths, perhaps for the excitement as much as for financial gain. This analysis helped investigators understand the calculated nature of Jonathan's action. He had likely planned Evelyn's disappearance from the moment he met her, selecting the remote location of their honeymoon to minimize witnesses and evidence. With this new understanding of Jonathan Hawkins' true nature, Agent Chen and her team began to meticulously retrace the couple's movements during their honeymoon. They re-interviewed resort staff, paying closer attention to any details about Jonathan's behavior. A breakthrough came when a bartender recalled seeing Jonathan at the bar late on the night of Evelyn's disappearance. Contrary to Jonathan's claim that they had gone to bed together, the bartender distinctly remembered him drinking alone, appearing agitated. Security footage confirmed this sighting, showing Jonathan at the bar until nearly 2 a.m. This directly contradicted his statement about going to bed with Evelyn earlier in the evening. When confronted with this evidence, Jonathan became defensive and changed his case, claiming he had trouble sleeping and had gone for a late-night drink. Further investigation of the bungalow revealed trace amounts of blood, invisible to the naked eye but detected through luminol testing. The blood was found in small droplets leading from the bed to the bathroom. DNA testing confirmed it was Evelyn. As evidence mounted against Jonathan, investigators faced a significant challenge. Evelyn's body had not been found. The vast ocean surrounding the island provided countless possibilities for disposing of evidence. Agent Chen ordered an extensive search of the waters around the resort, using advanced sonar equipment. After days of searching, they made a grim discovery. A large suitcase was found weighted down in a deep part of the lagoon. The suitcase contained Evelyn's body, wrapped in the bedsheets from their bungalow. The autopsy revealed that she had died from asphyxiation, likely smothered with a pillow. The time of death was estimated to be around midnight on the night she disappeared. With this evidence, Jonathan Hawkins was arrested and charged with the murder of Evelyn Martinez. The news of his arrest and the discovery of Evelyn's body sent shockwaves through Ocean View and beyond. The community that had celebrated their wedding just weeks earlier now grappled with the horror, what had truly transpired. The trial of Jonathan Hawkins, now revealed to the world as a serial killer, became a media sensation. Prosecutors presented a mountain of evidence, including his history of suspicious marriages, forensic evidence from the bungalow, and expert testimony about his sociopathic tendency. Jonathan maintained his innocence throughout the trial, but the jury was unconvinced. After just 6 hours of deliberation, they returned a guilty verdict. Jonathan Hawkins was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The case had far-reaching implications. It sparked discussions about the nature of sociopathy and the ease with which such individuals can conceal their true natures. Mental health experts appeared on talk shows discussing the red flags of sociopathic behavior in relationships. For the Martinez family, the verdict brought a measure of justice. It could never erase the pain of losing Evelyn. They established a foundation in her name, dedicated to educating young women about the warning signs of abusive and manipulative relationships. Sarah Thompson, still grappling with guilt over her unvoiced concerns about Jack Jonathan, became an advocate for trusting one's instincts in relationships. She gave talks at schools and community centers, urging people to speak up when something doesn't feel right, even if they can't explain why. The town of Ocean View, once known for its picturesque lighthouse and beautiful beaches, now found itself associated with this tragic case. Tourists would visit the lighthouse where Evelyn and Jonathan had exchanged their vows. Sight now a somber reminder of the darkness that can lurk behind a charming facade. The case of Evelyn Martinez and Jonathan Hawkins served as a stark reminder of the dangers that can hide behind a charismatic smile and romantic gestures. It highlighted the importance of taking time in relationships, of listening to the concerns of friends and family, and of being aware that not everyone is as they appear. Law enforcement agencies use the case as a study in the investigation of sophisticated sociopaths. Agent Chen's methodical approach, combined with the insights of forensic psychology, became a model for similar cases. The tragic case also shed light on the need for better background check systems and information sharing between states. Jonathan's ability to change identities and move between states without his past catching up to him revealed significant gaps in the system. For many, the case was a chilling reminder that fairy tales can sometimes hide nightmares. The image of Evelyn, radiant in her wedding dress, contrasted sharply with the grim reality of her fate, serving as a powerful and haunting symbol of the case. Years after the trial, the impact of Evelyn's case continued to resonate in Ocean View and beyond. The elementary school where she had taught dedicated a garden in her memory, a place where students could reflect on kindness and the importance of genuine connections. Jack Holloway, or Jonathan Hawkins as he was now known, became a subject of numerous true crime documentaries and books. Criminologists and psychologists studied his case, trying to understand the mind of a man who could transition so seamlessly between charming suitor and cold-blooded killer. For those who had known Evelyn, pain of her loss never fully faded. Her students, now growing into young adults, often spoke of the impact she had made in their lives during her short time as their teacher. Many cited her as an inspiration for their own career choices, particularly those who went into education or counseling. The Martinez family, while still grieving, found purpose in their advocacy work. They traveled the country, sharing Evelyn's case and working to create awareness about sociopathic behavior and the importance of healthy relationships. Their efforts led to the passage of Evelyn's Law in several states, which strengthened background check requirements for marriage licenses. Sarah Thompson, haunted by the memory of her unspoken doubts, became a licensed therapist specializing in helping women recognize and escape abusive relationships. She often cited her experience with Evelyn and Jonathan as the driving force behind her career change, turning her guilt into a mission to help others. The lighthouse where Evelyn and Jonathan had exchanged their vows became a complex symbol for the town. While it still attracted tourists with its beautiful views, also served as a somber memorial. On the anniversary of Evelyn's disappearance each year, community would gather there for a candlelight vigil, remembering Evelyn and other victims of domestic violence. The case had ripple effects far beyond Ocean View. Dating apps and websites implemented stricter verification processes, trying to prevent individuals with hidden criminal pasts from using their platform. Relationship counselors and therapists reported an increase in clients seeking help in assessing their partners and relationships. Schools began incorporating lessons on healthy relationships and recognizing manipulation into their curricula. Evelyn's case became a cautionary tale, used to illustrate the importance of taking time to truly know someone before making life-altering commitment. The media's fascination with the case eventually waned, but the case continued to resurface periodically, especially when similar cases came to light. Journalists and authors would often reference the Holloway-Martinez case as a benchmark in discussions about sociopathic criminals and their ability to blend into society. Despite the conviction and the closure it brought to many aspects of the case, some questions remained unanswered. Investigators continued to probe into Jonathan's past, suspecting that Evelyn, Rebecca, and Melissa might not have been his only victim. Cold case units in several states reopened investigations into unsolved disappearances and deaths, looking for connections to Jonathan's known movements and aliases. This renewed focus brought hope to families who had long waited for answers about their missing loved ones. Forensic psychologists continued to study Jonathan, attempting to understand the factors that had shaped him into the person he became. Was it nature or nurture that created such a calculating and remorseless individual? The debate raged on in academic circles, with Jonathan's case often at the center of discussions about the origins of sociopathic behavior. As Jonathan Hawkins began serving his life sentence, his behavior behind bars became a subject of intense study for criminologists and psychologists. Despite the overwhelming evidence against him, Jonathan maintained his innocence, showing no remorse for Evelyn's death or the pain he had caused her family. Dr. Miranda Foster, a renowned prison psychologist, conducted regular sessions with Jonathan. She noted his remarkable ability to adapt to prison life, quickly establishing himself as a model inmate. This adaptability, Dr. Foster observed, was typical of sociopaths, who can easily mold themselves to new environments to gain advantages. Jonathan's charm didn't fade behind bars. He became popular among both inmates and guards, always knowing the right thing to say to ingratiate himself. However, those who interacted with him regularly reported an unsettling feeling, as if his friendly demeanor was nothing more than a well-practiced act. During his incarceration, Jonathan received numerous letters from women who had become fascinated with his case. This phenomenon, known as hybristophilia or Bonnie and Clyde syndrome, concerned prison officials. They carefully monitored his correspondence, wary of him forming connections that could be exploited. As Jonathan served his time, detectives across the country continued to dig into his past. They believed that given his calculated approach to Evelyn's murder, it was unlikely to have been his first crime. The task force, led by Agent Chen, meticulously traced Jonathan's movements over the past 2 decades. Their investigation uncovered several unsolved missing persons cases that coincided with Jonathan's known locations. In each instance, a young woman had disappeared under mysterious circumstances, often while on a trip or adventure. While circumstantial, the pattern was undeniable. One case that stood out was that of Gabriel Russo, a 26-year-old artist from Portland, Oregon. Gabrielle had vanished during a solo camping trip in 2015. Witnesses at the campground recalled seeing her in the company of a charming stranger who matched Jonathan's description. Despite extensive searches, Gabrielle's body was never found. The task force worked tirelessly to gather evidence, hoping to bring closure to more family. They interviewed Jonathan's former colleagues, neighbors, and acquaintances, slowly piecing together a timeline of his movements and relationships. 5 years after Jonathan's conviction, a prominent documentary filmmaker, Elena Rodriguez, began work on a series about the case. Titled Honeymoon Horror: The Jonathan Hawkins Case, the documentary promised an in-depth look at the events leading up to Evelyn's murder and the subsequent investigation. Rodriguez interviewed key figures involved in the case, including Agent Chen, Sarah Thompson, and members of Evelyn's family. She also spoke with experts in criminal psychology, exploring the mindset that could lead someone to commit such heinous acts. One of the most chilling moments in the documentary came from an interview with Jonathan's cellmate, Marcus Reeves. Reeves recounted a conversation where Jonathan, believing he was speaking in confidence, had hinted at other victims. "He told me that Evelyn was just the tip of the iceberg," Reeves said, his voice barely above a whisper. He said that if they knew everything he'd done, they'd never let him see the light of day again. The documentary reignited public interest in the case. Internet sleuths pored over the details presented in the series, generating theories about Jonathan's potential involvement in other unsolved cases. While some of these theories were far-fetched, others provided valuable leads for investigators to pursue. As years passed, the town of Ocean View struggled to move beyond the shadow cast by Jonathan Hawkins. The community that had once prided itself on its safety and close-knit nature now grappled with a sense of violated trust. Local businesses, particularly those in the wedding industry, reported a significant downturn in the years following the murder. The Lighthouse, once a popular wedding venue, saw bookings plummet. Many couples felt uncomfortable celebrating their love in a place marked by such tragedy. However, the community's resilience began to shine through. Led by Sarah Thompson and Evelyn's former colleagues, the town initiated a series of programs aimed at healing and education. They established a scholarship in Evelyn's name, awarded annually to a student pursuing a career in education or counseling. The elementary school where Evelyn had taught underwent a transformation. With funding from community donations, they built a state-of-the-art library dedicated to Evelyn's memory. The library featured a special section on healthy relationships and personal safety, ensuring that Evelyn's tragic case would serve as a lasting lesson for future generations. The Holloway Martinez case had far-reaching implications in the legal world. Prosecutors and lawmakers cited the case as evidence of the need for stricter background checks and information sharing between states. The ease with which Jonathan had been able to conceal his past and move from state to state became a rallying cry for legal reform. Several states passed versions of Evelyn's Law, which mandated more comprehensive background checks for marriage licenses. These laws required checks across multiple states and included provisions for flagging individuals with patterns of short-lived marriages or suspicious deaths of spouses. The case also sparked debates about the nature of criminal responsibility in individuals diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder. Some argued that Jonathan's apparent lack of empathy and remorse was evidence of a mental illness that should be considered in sentencing. Others contended that his calculated actions showed a clear understanding of right and wrong, regardless of his psychological makeup. The Holloway-Martinez case became a landmark in the study of sociopathic behavior. Dr. Eleanor Reeves, forensic psychologist who had consulted on the case, published a groundbreaking paper analyzing Jonathan's behaviors and their implications for understanding and identifying sociopaths in society. Dr. Reeves's work highlighted the challenges in detecting high-functioning sociopaths like Jonathan. She emphasized the need for a more nuanced understanding of sociopathic traits, moving beyond the stereotypical image of the violent, impulsive criminal. Universities began incorporating the case into their criminology and psychology curricula. Students studied the investigative techniques that led to Jonathan's capture, as well as the psychological factors that enabled him to manipulate those around him for so long. While much attention focused on Jonathan Hawkins and the investigation, the true heart of the case remained with the families whose lives he had shattered. The Martinez family continued to grapple with their loss, finding solace in their advocacy work and the community that rallied around them. Evelyn's parents, Maria and Carlos Martinez, became outspoken advocates for domestic violence awareness. They traveled to schools and community centers, sharing Evelyn's case and educating young people about the warning signs of abusive relationships. Their presentations often left audiences in tears, moved by the raw emotion of parents who had lost their daughter to such a calculating predator. Evelyn's siblings, Alex and Sophia, found different ways to honor their sister's memory. Alex, inspired by Evelyn's love of teaching, decided to become an educator himself. Sophia, who had always been close to her sister, channeled her grief into art, creating a series of powerful paintings that depicted the complex emotions of loss and betrayal. The families of Jonathan's suspected victims also found a measure of connection through their shared experiences. They formed a support group, meeting regularly to share their stories and support each other through the ongoing investigations. For many, the possibility of finally learning what happened to their loved ones provided a glimmer of hope in their long journey of grief. As the years passed, the task force investigating Jonathan's potential earlier crimes continued their work. Their efforts were often frustrated by the passage of time and lack of physical evidence, but they remained committed to uncovering the full extent of Jonathan's actions. In 2028, 6 years after Jonathan's conviction for Evelyn's murder, a breakthrough came in the Gabriel Russo case. A hiker in the Oregon wilderness stumbled upon human remains that were later identified as Gabriel's. The location matched the area where Jonathan was known to have camped during the time of her disappearance. This discovery led to Jonathan being charged with Gabriel's murder. The trial, while lacking the media frenzy of his first, still attracted significant attention. It represented the culmination of years of painstaking investigative work and provided a measure of closure for the Russo family. A decade after Evelyn's murder, the ripple effects of the case continued to be felt. The case had become a cautionary tale, often referenced in discussions about relationship safety and the importance of trusting one's instincts. Sarah Thompson, now a respected therapist and advocate, published a book titled "When Prince Charming is a Villain: Recognizing Manipulation in Relationships." The book, which drew heavily on her experiences with Evelyn and Jonathan, became a bestseller and was credited with helping numerous individuals recognize and escape toxic relationships. The Evelyn Martinez Foundation, established by her family, had grown into a significant force for education and advocacy. It provided resources for schools to implement relationship safety programs and offered support services for victims of domestic violence. The Foundation's annual Walk for Evelyn event in Ocean View drew participants from across the country, all united in the mission to prevent similar tragedies. The case of Evelyn Martinez and Jonathan Hawkins serves as a stark reminder of the darkness that can lurk behind a charming facade. It highlights the importance of building genuine connections, taking time to truly know someone, and of listening to our instincts when something feels amiss. For the community of Ocean View, the case remains a defining moment in their history. The lighthouse, once a symbol of romance and new beginnings, now stands as a complex monument, a reminder of the tragedy that unfolded, but also of the community's resilience and determination to create positive change from their loss. As investigations into Jonathan's past continue, there remains hope that more families may find answers and closure. The full extent of his crimes may never be known, but the impact of his actions and the response of those left behind will continue to shape discussions about love, trust, and the complex nature of human psychology for years to come. The legacy of Evelyn Martinez lives on, not in the tragic circumstances of her death, but in the countless lives touched by her case. Through education, advocacy, and a renewed emphasis on genuine human connection, her memory continues to make the world a little safer, serving as a beacon of hope in the face of unimaginable darkness.